Have you started to see how the thought patterns that pop in our brains, that pop up in our brains when we're faced with any random unfortunate event, are very similar to those that pop up when we're worried about sleep? Have you started to see how the universal truths are everywhere? Well, Jonathan has, longtime follower and big supporter. Jonathan actually used the disinfectant recently and lost his sense of taste and sense of smell. And he sees how that is connected, how that, or rather his thought patterns in relation to that, are connected to everything, particularly sleep. That's what we're going to talk about today. A really nice comment from Jonathan that I'm so excited to share with you today. But before we go there and before we do a roundup, actually, I want to share with you that we are going to have a little bit of a summer break here. I'm going to travel to visit my parents and family in Sweden. Going to be there for about 3 weeks. So regular program here will resume sometime in mid-July. There, I may create some content before that, but no promises. But definitely we'll be back to our regular programming sometime in mid-July when I return. Now, what we're going to do here, of course, is a roundup and then look at Jonathan's comments. So let's do that. So Monday, we had Insomnia Insight number 464. We talked about mantras. Basically, a question I get often is there something I should tell me in the evening to pacify my brain, to calm myself down? That's what we're talking about. That's what we talked about Monday. So if that's of interest to you, check it out. Tuesday, we had Heard Online, and we looked at a really nice newsletter, actually, that was on insomnia. And sometimes you find something really nice online, and this was one of those where the kind of the topic was on how we look at things and how we potentially can look at things in a different way. Very nice newsletter there. Wednesday, we had Insomnia Open Class. Coach Alina was here, and we talked about hypnic awareness, which is when you're just about to drift off and you become aware of that, and that jolts you awake, and more. And then yesterday, we did not have Talk Insomnia, but rather an extra Insomnia Insight, which I know wasn't like most of our community here is probably not going to find that much value in it. But if you are a parent of a child who is a restless sleeper, then you will. It's a little tricky because I often don't know what to say, because you can't really say a child with insomnia, because most children don't actually have insomnia. So I just used the word restless sleeper here. Now let's start over to the comment from Jonathan that came in. I think it was this was on the Heard Online episode Tuesday. It's a comment on that one. And Jonathan says the following: this article reminded me of an insight I had recently that I would like to share with the community. Insomnia is just one form of pessimism. These days, I was using a type of disinfectant on the floor of my kitchen, trying to eliminate the excess dust that was there, and suddenly I felt my mouth burning. Soon after, when I went to make coffee, I realized I had no taste and smell. I was desperate for the next 2 hours because all I could think about was that it would be permanent in my life. I've already started to imagine how living without smell would affect my life, how living without taste would affect my weight, my health. After 3 hours, my senses returned naturally. That's when I realized that it was all about pessimism and despair during a new situation. Exactly how insomnia happens when I sleep little. I start to imagine that it will be permanent in my life. In other words, in most cases, insomnia is just one symptom among others in the life of a pessimist like me, says Jonathan. And Jonathan, first of all, of course, thanks for sharing this. And what I said briefly in the reply there was that there are so many ways we can think of insomnia, and I never came across this one that is can be like a symptom of pessimism, if you will. But it made a lot of sense, it contextualized like this. And by the way, so glad your taste and smell returned, of course. And just to comment on this, firstly, we have this, we're often, like all of us humans, I think, have this sense that when something happens, we think, oh, this is going to last forever. How is this going to end? And it's really tricky when we don't really know how it's going to end. Like nobody could foresee when Jonathan's taste or smell would come back. But so often in life, we see that things come back, sleep comes back, taste comes back, smell comes back, other things come back. So I just want to point that out. But also, what is being pessimistic? What does that really mean? Well, if we think about it, like pessimistic means that we by default think things are not going to go well. It's basically a brain who tells us be, this is, have to be careful about this. This can happen. This can also happen. This is probably going to happen. It's basically a brain that wants us to be on alert. So I think of it almost like this, that we all have sort of a thermostat, like there's a range of, you know, personality, if you will, or like, let's think of it as an inner thermostat. We have some of us that are more like, we have a brain that is more safety oriented, that is going to be like, when something happen, it's going to create stories that tell the stories of like, this could go bad, this is not going to go well, which is basically just trying to prepare us to be safe. It's a really safety minded brain. All that, even if it doesn't don't feel good, to have sort of be there on the thermostat, if you will, then it comes from a good place. It wants to keep us safe. And then on the other hand, you can have somebody who's like super like carefree, easy go lucky, like all like the default like story in their brain is like, oh, everything is totally going to be fine, right? And the thing that I want to highlight here is like that there's so much value in both. If we think about ourselves, humans as a tribe, and we really are a flock animal, we are a pack animal, right? Imagine if you had a tribe where everyone was really, really safety minded and careful and said like, no, let's do that. Let's stay here. Let's not venture out. Then that tribe maybe won't do so well because they will never take any risk. They will never try to venture out and explore new things. On the flip side, if you have a tribe where everybody is like super easygoing, carefree go lucky, then they probably won't do that well because they won't be like prepared for potential problems, right? So as a global like humanity, as a tribe, etc., we like, there's so much value in having like people like that have a little bit different thermostats. And I think that, when you hear this, it can be like, oh my gosh, why am I a person that is like, why do I have to be that person who's like, more safety minded? Well, I think that we can all have a wonderful experience of life. Like, yes, some of us are maybe a little bit more optimistic, some of us are more pessimistic, but when we see this and we don't judge ourselves for it, and we don't, we aren't hard on ourselves for that, we sort of accept ourselves for who we are. I think we can all have really wonderful, meaningful, valuable experiences in life, really valuable life experiences, want to say. And so I think this is really what I said here, that when we don't judge ourselves for our thermostat, we won't struggle. And that is always nice. And sometimes the thermostat can change a little bit. Sometimes when we start judging ourselves for who we think we are, then there's no pressure to like change. And then things can change a little bit. So that can also happen. But first and foremost, when we accept ourselves for who we are, I think that alleviates a lot of struggle. Now, Jonathan, I didn't really sense any like judgment in saying like I'm a pessimist. I thought that was actually said, with a little twinkle in the eye. It was like said as something to make us smile. But just want to comment for anyone else. And that was it for this roundup. It's been really nice having you here for for the 4 years that we've been here, and this is going to be the first kind of a little bit of longer break here. But do know that if you are if you're struggling, and if you feel like a little bit of help to find yourself sleeping well and being the person that you recognize yourself as, or that you felt that you were before, like feeling like yourself again, is what I want to say, then our services continue without any interruptions. So just head over to the Sleep Coach School and you can find a way to connect with a coach and start that journey to where you want to be. With that said, again, super nice having you here. Look forward to being back in July. Maybe there'll be a little bit more content there, but definitely regular programming will start again in July. So again, have a super nice weekend. Thanks for all the support, and look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.